Hello, friends. Hello, Internet. Hopefully, everyone is doing amazing. Welcome to Tarot for the month ahead for September. I can't believe that we are already at the end of August. Like, where did the year go? I have no idea. I'm shocked still. But before we get into tarot for September, as well as I'm going to be pulling some oracle cards for September, as one does. And I've got the cards that we pulled for last month, I believe. And I want to make a little announcement that today on Amazon, I have launched my fourth book, Body Magic. This is the Risograph handmade limited edition of 150 copies. This is that edition that I have in my hands, but there is the second edition, which is more widely available. It's not like $100. It's like 20 to 30 bucks, I guess 29 US, 39 Canadian, and I don't know how much it is in other countries, sorry. But it is finally available, the mass market edition, over on Amazon. So if you just search Body Magic into Amazon, it should show up. Some countries that are not Canada, US, and UK, it might take a few days to show up on your country, but don't worry, it is coming. It is in the Amazon pipeline and it is coming. So do check this out. This is, I think, my best book to date. A lot of people who have read this first edition have told me pretty much the same thing. Many people have told me that they've cried, that it was very moving, that it helped them work through and understand parts of themselves and their own history and their own trauma. So it's definitely not something that you're going to want to miss. It's my best book so far. And I did a little flip through on another video when these actually arrived. And I'm just so excited for these to get in the hands of more people. It is something I've been working on for a really fucking long time. And it's just really solid. So please grab it on book launch day. And I intentionally have launched it right now because we're pretty much just entering into eclipse season, and eclipses tend to be these big seismic things. So I want it to be in your hands by the total lunar eclipse on September 7th if you want it to get there in that time. So do grab this. And in case you're new to my work, this is my fourth book, my new book, and in reverse order. Some of these have stickers from when I was selling these at markets. This is my third book. It's a book of poetry about healing from sexual trauma, let's just say. And this is my second book, a kind of witchy 101 technique-based, text-based book about magic techniques and all of this type of thing. And then this is my first book, which you can get pretty much at any bookstore. This is my only book that is traditionally published. This is the original edition, Risograph, handmade as well. I think this is probably the 5th or 6th edition Risograph. So I did a lot of those before it got picked up. But all that to say, you can get this pretty much anywhere. This one you can get anywhere. You can get this at your local bookstore. You can get this at your library, probably. This is my first book about witchcraft and magic and being a witch in the city and all of that. So those are all of my books, just to kind of get us started in case you're new to me and my work and what I do and why I do it. That's just a little bit of just a little introduction. So here's all the books. And of course I have some journals out and everything. But let's get rolling. I have a lot of things to do today, so I kind of want to zip through this. So let's talk about it. September. How was August, you guys? Definitely something I love to do is at the end of each month, rewatch my video for the month ahead. And so I'm really curious to watch the video that I did for August and just see how did that match up with the month I actually had. Kind of crazy. I do like to do that, and I recommend that folks do that too. So let's just see what we've got for September, the month ahead. I'm going to start off with how many cards? Let's do 3 or 4 to start us off. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got almost all upright. And you know what? I do want to just pull some of the oracle cards as well. just to see how the energy kind of reflects into these cards. Because obviously Oracle and Tarot, they're each telling us something a little bit different, and I do think that it's beneficial to work with both and just see how they kind of reflect and refract off of one another. Different ways of interpreting the energy and what this moment is calling us to be, to do, to show up as. So let's see. Okay, got one. Our first oracle card from the Animal Spirit Oracle. And then let's just pull from this deck, Spiritual Meaning of Birds. Let's see. Last month we got Hummingbird, which is really lovely. So let's see what we get for September. I'm loving that it looks like a gorgeous day outside right now. Let's see. Ooh. Owl. Beautiful. I love owls. Okay. And it's interesting because an owl, basically they eat mice. So it's kind of interesting. So intriguing combination so far. And let's just see from the Untamed Spirit deck. Let's see what comes up. Last month, I believe it was Sea Turtle. Unless this was a personal reading and I just forgot. Right now I forget, but that's what was out. Let's see. What do we have? Elephant. Really interesting mix of energies here. So let me put this back in the little box and we'll get started. Okay. All right. So let's start actually with the oracle cards. I do have a few tarot cards here as well to get us rolling, but let's see these in order. What kind of comes up here? So first of all, we've got Mouse from the Animal Spirit Oracle by Kim Kranz. And so, all right, so for Mouse for September, one of our little animal spirit guides. Detail-oriented, small-minded, nitpicky, nervous. The mouse has an innate desire to tend to the details. It often spends its days fixing, preparing, organizing, and scrutinizing. Unfortunately, a mouse personality doesn't notice when they've gone too far. Soon they begin to have a limited and fearful vision of life. I just feel called out by this a little bit. And try to control every detail. This can be quite a painful experience for both the mouse and those around them. When mouse energy is at play, step back for a moment. It may be time to find a more purposeful project to delve into, one that's worthy of your exacting eye. This just called me out a little bit. So when in balance, the mouse is organized, resourceful, prepared. When out of balance, the mouse is busy with no purpose. To bring into balance, a meaningful project. And I think I know exactly what this is going to be for myself. I'm curious what it is going to be for all of you. Just as a little preview, I'm currently designing book number 5, which is a book of rituals at home divided by areas in the house. So I'm really excited. So it's fully written. It's been written for a little while. And now I'm working on the illustrations for it. And I do want to launch it as a witch starter on Kickstarter in October. And do a little risograph handmade edition of that as well if people are interested in that. And that is kind of what I think I'm going to be working on for September is designing that book, getting it ready for print, talking to my printer, all of this type of stuff. So that I think is what my most decisive, exacting nitpickiness is going to be going towards, and probably some PhD stuff too. But I think mostly that book project. And so in order, let's now talk about Owl. This is so stunning. I love this artwork. So at the bottom it says focus, prophecy, wisdom. I love this. And so it says here, let's see if we can find it. Luckily, this book is in alphabetical order. So it says the owl. I'll show you guys. Card meaning. The owl, with its ability to see and hear very precisely, can cut through obfuscation and murk. It may be bringing you the message that you can do the same if you focus. The owl cannot see anything up close, so it may be warning you to pay closer attention to things. Don't be blind to what's happening right under your nose. See the owl as a messenger from the darkness and uncertainty of life. Instead of fearing it for its news, appreciate and welcome it. You may not want to receive news that is not positive, but having advance notice is a valuable thing because you can prepare. The owl may be reminding you to access your own wisdom and intuition, to see through illusion or deception, or trust yourself in a time of uncertainty. A very interesting card. I like that combination of the mouse and the owl. Interestingly, even though one is predator, one is prey in this case, they, like, one of these eats the other. But interestingly, these cards are both in some way about noticing, observing, focusing on our surroundings, seeing everything around us really clearly, and then acting with that information the best that we can. And so next up, we've got an even bigger creature here, the elephant. It says community and perseverance. So let's see what we got here. And I think in this deck, the elephant, I think she is, or he or she, the people, I don't know, they are associating with fire, I think. I could be totally wrong. Yeah, here we go, elephant, fire. Interesting. And so there's like a little poem kind of at the beginning of these. So it says, I, the old elephant, tend to my young and to my struggling companions. I teach the smells of the water. Strength comes from those who stand by my side. Our journey makes us a family. In my spirit, every wrongdoing is cured. Before us stands the elephant, the greatest and most majestic of land mammals, a symbol of nobility. Its greatness resides not only in its size, but also in its family and the emotional relationships in which it exists. Their social groups are divided by gender and age. The oldest ones lead the groups of females and males, where they pass down knowledge and help the youngest and most vulnerable. The elephant is seen in the head of Ganesh, who is invoked in prayers for facing and removing obstacles and achieving success and wisdom. Having the elephant as a guide means knowing how to take on the responsibility of others' needs. In its journey, the animal does not forget anyone. This proverbial memory is actually tied to the elephant's sense of justice. It never forgets who has done it harm, and it will take it revenge at its first chance. I did not know that. The elephant has an advanced sense of smell that allows it to understand how things are without seeing them. It's interesting. So all the common thread with these animals is, again, about noticing, observing, being able to see things from 3 different vantage points, which is, I think, fascinating here. Sorry, guys. There is no hot water at my house right now, and so I'm like struggling with like my hair. Anyway, so these 3 animals, it's interesting because the little booklets mention that these are all about observing and noticing and seeing things as how they are. Not overthinking, not overanalyzing, but instead analyzing the exact right amount. And it's interesting because these all have a different vantage point, right? The mouse is close to the ground, like really seeing everything super close up. The owl is like flying above. And then the elephant is kind of in the middle, still high up and kind of seeing everything from that vantage point, but closer to the ground than the owl is going to be. And so I would say the animal messages for this month, September, are around these different levels of awareness, cultivating these different levels of noticing things up close. How does it feel up close? How does it look up close? Noticing it kind of from a midway distance. How do we feel? How do we observe from that kind of frame of reference? And then how do things look when we scale way, way, way back and look at things from above, like we would with this owl energy? And so one, I would say, oracle message to kind of get us rolling for September is to just really focus on this power of noticing and noticing from different levels of awareness. There is the close proximity, and there's also zoomed out. And both of those means and modes of noticing are really important for us in September. Because if we're too close all the time, we can get lost in the details. We can get stuck in the mud, kind of. And likewise, if we're so zoomed out all the time without the balance of the other frames of reference, then we could completely get too detached and lose touch with what is real. And so I think there's a difference here between perception and reality at times, and we always need to be aware of the filter that reality is moving through. We each are a filter based on our own experiences, our own knowledge, our own traumas, our own triggers. That is how we're going to perceive everything through that lens. And sometimes it's going to be accurate, and sometimes it's not going to be accurate. And so I would say these animal spirits are reminding us to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves and really look at things from lots of different angles. Look at things from lots of different perspectives. Look at it from way zoomed out. Look at it way close up and see what is real. What are we noticing based on that? And I would say this is all, especially the elephant, is reminding us that we are not the only perspective out there. Since the elephant card is about community to some extent and caretaking of others, our perception is not the only perception that exists. And so our perception is going to be different from someone else's, let's say that we're in relationship with or that we're close with. And we want to make sure that we honor the perspectives of others as we are kind of in this analytical observational framework. It's important, I think, to honor our own perceptions, but we also need to acknowledge how we may be coming off or how other people that we care about might be interpreting us, even if it's not how we want to be interpreted. And so we can blame people for their misinterpretation, or we can kind of work together to figure shit out and come back together, you know? How cute. Okay, so I like those cards to start us off. This side of my hair is like kind of bugging me, so I'm going to look at this side. So I like those as little oracle cards to get us started. So let's talk about some tarot to just get us rolling for the month of September. So what I'm noticing is we have one of each suit except for the Pentacles, and we've also got a reversed Emperor to kind of get us rolling. Very interesting grouping of cards. We've got a beginning, we've got an ending, we've got somewhere kind of in the middle. So let me talk actually about the Emperor reversed first. This is an interesting card. The Emperor is so much about structure and order. And the Emperor reversed, I would say, as a card to kind of get us kickstarted into September, is a reminder that sometimes the order that we want to impose on things is not serving us. And so it's a bit of a card that gives us permission to kind of create our own unique order, our own unique structure of life. The Emperor reversed is a card that I associate with things like entrepreneurship or people, doing their own thing, having an unconventional job, waking up at unconventional hours, living life a little bit unconventionally, but there's still a structure to it. It's just not the typical type of structure that most of society, let's say, is going to be imposing. But there is still a structure. There is a method to the madness. There is a determination, a dedication, a seriousness with which that we should approach whatever this is about for us in September in particular, right? So don't allow yourself to be at the whims of the universe. This is not the month for that. This is the month for structure, planning, etc. Even if it's not a typical type of structure. Like it probably isn't going to be in relation to 9 to 5. It might be in relation to overnight work, or like people who work like 16 hours a day and then take 4 days off and do nothing. Like these extreme structures, but there still is a structure. There is still a methodology here. There is still like a ruling with an iron fist in a way of one's own self, of one's own life, of one's own time. And so that's important. It's an unconventional structure that we want to welcome into our life for September. So try mixing things up. If you are someone who does the same exact fucking routine all the time, I would say for September, it's time to kind of spice things up a little bit, switch them up a bit, and see what else you can do with your time and your energy and how that is going to express itself, let's say, in your life. Just switch up the structure. And I think there will be a lot of opportunities. And I think this is not just in one area of life, it's in multiple, since we have a major arcana. Interesting card to get us started. And for anyone who's watching live, please say hello. And if you want to give me a little like, I appreciate that. So next up, 10 of Wands, upright. And these 3 minor arcanas are upright, which is pretty interesting. So 10 of Wands, we are ending some big effort, I would say. I know exactly what this is regarding for myself. This is likely around releasing my new book. This is likely around, This is likely around some kind of PhD project related stuff. And so this is going to hit everyone a little bit different, right? But we are ending some burdens, right? We're coming to the culmination. Relax. We're coming to the culmination point of a lot of things here at the end of August, moving into September. And so for those of you who aren't finished with whatever this is about, September is going to be the month where you're going to want to finish up whatever this shit is about, whatever you're exerting your energy into, whether that's a craft show, whether that is writing a book, whether that is renovating your house, whether that is I don't fucking know, like offboarding and onboarding between jobs, whatever that happens to be for you. We're really going to want to make sure that we tie all of that energy with a bow for September. We don't want that to be lingering past September. Ideally, we want to get all those projects done so they can be off our plate and we can kind of move on into the new energy. It makes sense. September, we got eclipse season. We got 2 eclipses, one on the 7th and I think one on the 21st. And then we've got the autumn equinox. So it is a very impactful month in terms of these big energies that we're able to work with if we want to, in order to move us along and help us finish these projects, finish these efforts, these exertions, right? Because this card is all about exertion and that kind of like the 11th hour, like the final mile of effort that we're putting in, right? And so in order to finish this up, we might have to be a little bit unconventional about our time and our structure of our energy, right? And where our energy is flowing and how it's flowing. So that's an interesting thing. So next up, we've got the 6 of Cups, an interesting card. I would say for me, this is very much like a childhood trauma kind of card. It is to some extent about nostalgia. It is about our old patterns. And so this is a month to really reflect on the ways in which our old childhood experiences and patterns are impacting us right now today. And so this can be positive and this can also be negative, right? Since it's upright, I would say likely we're just moving into a space of awareness. I don't think anyone is really being screwed over by this at this exact moment, but it's something to notice. It's something that you're probably aware of since this card is upright. So it probably is in our consciousness right now. It's something to just observe and notice. You know, if you're in a new relationship, are you noticing some of your triggers that have nothing to do with the person that's in front of you, but has to do with kind of your past experiences or the childhood vulnerabilities, right? We all have them. And so it's something to really observe and make sure that it doesn't run away with us this month. So just observe it. Don't let it control you, whatever this happens to be. Next up, Page of Swords. So this is nice. This is a new beginning. This is an embracing of newness, an embracing of being fresh at something. So I would say if you're thinking of starting a project, especially something that is in regards to communication, since this is a sword, if you are a writer, maybe you work in social media, it's a great time to start a new project, get the word out there, do things that are new to you, that are communication oriented, maybe start a newsletter. If that is irrelevant to you, this could be around the importance of instigating conversations, certain conversations with people, learning new styles of communication. This could also be a little bit of a nudge to start a coaching relationship or go to therapy or something that involves communication and speech and unblocking our throat chakra, even if it makes us feel like we're a little baby learning something completely new that we are a little bit uncomfortable with and have no experience how to do that. This is a card that shows us that for September, this is actually a really, really good way to spend our time, is learning some of these new ways of communicating. And I think it will go well actually for most of us, because this is a nice upright card. So we love that. Let's see, what else do we need to know for September? How can we best make do and use, work with, ride the waves of this energy right now? What should we be focusing on and what should we not be focusing on? That's what I'd like to find out here. We should be focusing on, okay. Okay, interesting. So we should not be focusing on a million choices. So I feel September is a month to really like commit, kind of. Like September is going to be a month to commit to what the fuck it is we want to do, who we want to be spending time with. If you're dating a million people, I think it's a good time to just kind of hone in on one person. If you're working on a million projects, I think it's a good time to hone in on one project and just get that done. If you are doing a million social activities this month in order to, I don't know, avoid your own emotions, maybe don't do that. Maybe just focus on a few that you think would be really meaningful rather than spreading yourself so thin that it's pointless. If you are someone who right now is sending out a bazillion job applications, this card is like, no, focus on, let's say one or two or three of them and do it really, 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 really well. That is going to be a much better use of your energy than just doing some like mass spam job application. Like, this is not a time to be entertaining 1 million options. This is a time of focus. So that is what we want to be doing this month, is focusing. We also want to be, this is interesting, we want to be aware of our emotional state. We want to make sure that we are not being manipulative. This is something that we can sometimes do by accident. Sometimes maybe we don't realize that we're doing it. It's time to not be emotionally immature. It is time to, let's say, try to be the upright King of Cups in all things, and also to associate with people who are embodying this upright King of Cups energy. It's a positive masculine energy. That's what we want. And we want to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves and make sure that we're not behaving in some kind of weird way. Because sometimes our brain and emotions can kind of get away from us. Lovers reversed. So it's interesting because this came up for what we should be focusing on. And so Lovers, the other name for this card is like the choice or the two roads. I've seen this card show up in a lot of interesting ways, like in different iterations of this. And this card is often, it's like this internal battle between what we really want with our heart and then what we feel obligated to do. And so this card for me, it's so interesting because it is this nudge to stay true to ourself and to notice the difference between obligation and true heart-centered, soul-led desire. And so it's interesting, right? Because this card is also, to some extent, about choices. And so are we avoiding choices this month? How are we relating to the concept of choice in September? I think that's going to be a really interesting thing that's going to hit a lot of us, just with the energies of the equinox, of the two eclipses that are happening. And so eclipses do tend to be this kind of seismic, like, rearranging of the chairs, so to speak. And it does often inspire us to reflect on, what am I doing? Who am I? Where am I going? What am I doing with my life? And what can I do with my life instead? Do I like what I'm doing? Should I continue what I'm doing? Does that feel aligned? Does that feel correct? Does that feel right? And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And I would say it's interesting, right? Don't put off these choices. Also, don't make them too hastily. I'm really curious how this is going to pan out for people. I think it's going to pan out in a lot of different ways. Let me just pull another one on those two reversed choicey cards. I think the Lover's reverse sometimes also comes up when we're afraid of love, when we're afraid of moving towards what we really want, which is interesting. And I think a similar energy we can see in the reverse Seven of Cups, because I think a lot of time people love choice and abundance and not being like locked in, but that's just a way of avoiding intimacy, and it's a way of avoiding the horror of getting what we actually want out of life. It's a lot easier to just not get what we want. It's a lot more emotionally comfortable. So that's interesting. Okay. We want to be really aware of deception and lies as well from other people. And also we want to be aware of, are we lying or deceiving ourselves this month? So it's going to be a fucking interesting energy with that, you know, discernment. And all of that makes these animal cards very interesting, since a lot of those are about observation and looking and all of this. What else do we need to know about that? Ace of Cups. At the same time, with all of that drama that we just saw, the reversals, we've got this upright Ace of Cups with that. So love is safe, new relationships, new beginnings, choice, choosing what we want, giving ourselves permission to choose what we want and to chase that, to put our eggs in the basket, so to speak. Interesting. We also don't need to think too far into the future. I think that will come when it comes. I think we can dream about what kind of future we want this month. Not a bad time to do that. And beware of the shiny things. Not everything that seems interesting is a good choice. This came up for what we should not do. And so I would say when you've made your choice with the Lovers reversed and the Seven of Cups reversed, when we've made our choice, we want to stick to it. We don't want to be loosey-goosey. We don't want to have wandering eyes. We don't want to abandon the projects that we start or abandon the projects that we're so close to finishing this month in order to just like go off and get distracted by something. Remember your path that you've created. Remember the roadmap. Remember that the seeds that you've been planting the last few months, the last year, the last lifetime. Do you want to get easily distracted off your path by something ephemeral and something unrelated to what your goals and dreams and visions really are? Stay true to yourself. Stay true to the path. Keep your eye on the prize, whatever that is for you, whether that's a relationship, whether that's releasing a new book, whether that is going back to school to start a new career, whatever this happens to be. Keep your eye on the prize and don't let yourself be distracted by stupid shit that is just going to distract you. And don't stray from what it is that you really want. Don't stray from your values. Pretty nice read. And so I think that's pretty much it. I want to maybe do 3 more. What are our final messages for September? Let's see. Interesting. Final messages for September. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Get rid of this learned helplessness energy. There are many of us probably who are playing it small, who are not living life in the way that we should, in the way that would serve us the best. There are many of us who are feeling trapped, but the reality is we're not as trapped as we think we are. We can make change. We can break free. So September, break free of your brain demons and the silly things that your brain tells you that you can't do. Whatever that negative self-talk is, cut that out. Replace it with 8 positive things that are optimistic and moving towards the future. Page of Pentacles reversed. Go after some of the business opportunities. Go after the raise. Go after like whatever silly thing. Like have a yard sale. Don't neglect your finances in September. Go after the money. I think it will flow. if we decide to follow it. Four of Wands reversed. It's interesting. So with that 10 of Pentacles reversed, not thinking too far ahead in the future, but we can think a little bit into the future. Think about, who do you want to partner with long term? What does stability look like for you? What is that balance between stability and passion? A balance between stability and excitement. Where does that land for you? Who do you want to live life with? Who do you want to build with? This can be family, this can be friends, this can be lovers, relationship, romantic relationship. What kind of life do we want to build, and with who? Environmentally, who is that person we want to live life with? What kind of community do we want? Where do we want to live? All of this stuff. And I like that as a way to end things off. Okay, friends, that's the reading for September. Very exciting. I'm curious how that's going to pan out for all of us. Very interesting. Please do leave a comment. Let me know what you think. How did this land for you? What do you have going on in September? I'm really curious to learn that. And do subscribe and give this a little like if you haven't yet. And of course, do go grab my new book, Body Magic, over on Amazon. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye. Happy September.